Hey, everybody. Um, uh, Sorry to say this is getting closer, but it's still really sore. I mean, if I was on the road, I would bite the bullet and play the shows and get on with it. But since I have the option here at home of letting it heal, I'm just going to give it a day or two more. I was digging at it today and got a little bit of drainage in it. Was using hydrogen peroxide and neosporin and alcohol. And any more work I do around the yard, I'm going to be wearing gloves. Okay, it takes a while to, have a brain, but every once in a while I do figure out what the hell to do with myself. So I'm going to do that. So I'm not going to play today, but I'll just. There was a little story I was thinking about the other day, and I just thought I'll share it with you. If nothing else, I'll just keep things active here until I can get back and get on my base again. But way back in the early days, we were doing a gig. I think it was at Queens College in maybe Boston or something with James Taylor. And it was James and Russ Kunkel and myself working as a trio in a lot of those early gigs. And James had just heard "You've Got a Friend" for the first time, and we decided to learn it. We hadn't recorded it yet, but we learned it, and we worked it all up backstage. And we walked out on stage, and James told the crowd, he said, "We want to play a new song for you now, written by Carole King. We've never played this before, so if you hear any wrong notes, it's Lee." I mean, man, words of encouragement, so everybody kind of got a giggle out of it. Well, we played the song, and every bass note was wrong. And James kept kind of looking over at me, and I'm looking at him, and the crowd's kind of, what the hell's going on? And when we finished the song, there was this kind of a cacophonous silence between us. And I'm really happy to cop to my mistakes. And, I'm not beyond making mistakes. Shit happens, as they say. But I looked at James and I just said, "Hey, James, what song did we play just before You've Got a Friend? Was it Country Road? Did you play that in drop D tuning, don't you? Did you remember to tune your E string back up to an E from a D? Because he would always drop tune for it." And he just looked at me. So, because James is probably one of the most complex guitarists I've ever worked with. And it was an education working with this guy, because when he's playing, he's got thumb bass going all the time. And when I started working with him, I had to figure out, do I just copy, and ape what he's playing, or do I figure out parts that can work around him? And it was probably one of my great educations as a bass player, was finding parts that were counterpuntal and counterintuitive to what James was already laying down, because James was one of those guys who could just stand there and play guitar and sing, and it would be a complete show. Being a part of it, you had to figure out what the hell you were doing. So I looked at him and I said, "So did you remember to tune up?" And he just went, and he just checked his guitar, and it was still a whole note off on all those low notes. And I remember him saying, he looks at the crowd and he goes, "There isn't a spatula big enough to wipe the egg from my face." And it was a classic moment with James. I mean, it's rare that those kind of things happen, because James is one of those guys that just, every time he would strap on that guitar, he'd nail it. He's a gifted, brilliant musician, and so it was funny. But in the early days, we had a lot of adventures like that were pretty crazy. But and then, okay, somebody said, "Tell another joke." Okay, I'm not Mr. Giant Joke Teller, but this is another one. I used to do a huge amount of contemporary Christian albums down in Nashville. And I think they hired me because they had hoped to heal me. And of course, that was a complete useless gesture because I am what I am. But I love to work with Stephen Curtis Chapman and Second Chapter of Acts and Twyla Paris and got so many of them. And we always had a great time down there. But so, okay, so here's a joke. And if you've heard it, go watch somebody else's videos then. If you haven't, then just try to stay awake. So St. Peter, he's watching the gates of heaven. And it gets quiet up there, and Jesus comes walking over to him, and St. Peter's standing there kind of holding his crutch, rocking back and forth, and Jesus goes, "Are you okay? What's going on?" And St. Peter goes, "Oh man, I've been here for ages. I got to pee so bad." And Jesus looks around, he says, "There's nobody here right now. You go take care of your business. I'll watch the gate for you." So he scurries off, and Jesus just kind of standing there. And then out of the mist, this old man appears. Probably looks a little like me. But this old man appears, and Jesus yells out to him, "Old man, over here, waves, come here, this way." And the old man comes over, and he's just gazing around kind of in amazement at everything. And Jesus goes, "Welcome to heaven." And the old goes, "This is fantastic. Thank you so much. This is beyond my expectations." There was something slightly familiar about this old man's look, though, that caught Jesus' eye. And he goes, "Tell me, did you have a good life?" And the old man goes, Yes, I have to say I had a good life." Now, there's something eating at Jesus with this. He's not sure. He says, "What did you do? What was your profession?" And the old man goes, "Well, I was great with my hands. I worked in wood, and I built many things, and that was my life. I loved wood." And Jesus is really feeling something now, and he finally digs in. And he goes, "Did you have any children?" And the old man goes, "Actually, I had one son, and he came to me through a miracle." And Jesus wells up in tears, and he looks at the old man, and he goes, "Father?" The old man looks at him, and he goes, "Pinocchio? Where's that symbol? Okay, that's it. I'm sorry. This is filler poo until I get my finger back on a string. So you guys, please, I'm sorry for this one. There's lots of this nonsense getting me up into the Catskills. You guys all take good care of yourselves out there. Be smart. That's all I can say is be smart. We're hearing all of this crap coming from government officials wanting desperately to get the economy back online, and get things going again. Be smart and really investigate things before you walk out that door without a mask on and think you're going to a concert or a restaurant or anything, because the last thing we need to do at this point is lose more lives because of stupidity. This is something not to be trifled with. Every day I'm getting messages from people who members of their families have died. Or I get a message from somebody telling me a friend of mine has died. This is not to be trifled with by any means. This is one of the worst things that I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. I've lived through quite a few things, and everything, it doesn't pale compared to this, because every time there's anything bad, it's bad. If one life is lost, it's bad. But this knows no boundaries. And I was watching a show last night, and it was about pandemics. It was, and a lot of it was stuff that was from 20 years ago, where they were talking about, things to watch out for, and speeches by George W. Bush. Talking about, man, we've got to be prepared. Something's going to be coming down the line. Obama talking about preparation for this. And here we sit, totally unprepared. I mean, nobody's really done anything. And as a matter of fact, they've reduced the preparation for it. So don't put yourself in harm's way is all I'm trying to say. Of course, they want to get the economy working. Everybody, is suffering with no paychecks and everything. But paycheck's not going to do you any good if you're dead. So please stay safe and keep in your heart the best wishes for all of the people. That the number of what you would call first responders is staggering, because it's not just like having a fire and the first responders are firemen who show up. This is an entire segment of society that's working so hard to save so many lives and save save the future of this country and the world. So thank you from the bottom of my heart every time to the people who are working so hard on a daily basis to make this a tolerable time for people, and doing so much to save lives and putting themselves in harm's way while their family sits home worrying about them. So probably the next day or so, it's feeling better. It's kind of like every time I touch his fingertip, it's like there's a needle going into it. So it's just not fun. I don't want to feel completely distracted. So you take good care of yourselves out there. Think about your neighbors. If anybody needs any help with anything, if there's somebody who needs groceries and you have the ability to go out and get groceries, give people a call, see if they need anything. You don't have to hand it personally. You can always just take it over, set it on the porch. They can come out. If you get the stuff, take it, get some alcohol swabs or something, clean things that might have residue on them, not necessarily from the person who's delivering it, but from the person who stocked it or brought it to the. I mean, there's so many aspects. It's just staggering. So love you all. You take good care, and I will see you tomorrow. And hopefully, the sooner I play, the less there'll be jokes for you to have to put up with. But there's some other fun road stories I'll share with you too.